Thank you guys. I love the energy so much. Thank you for tuning in to the Chelley Roy Show. I am your host, Chelley Roy, and we have an amazing show for you guys tonight. Tonight is our first ever Women, Wine, and Wisdom event in honor of Women's National Month. We have a treat in store for you guys. You guys definitely don't want to miss this treat. So before I start the show, I typically like to start off with thanking my sponsors. The Chelley Roy Show is sponsored by Built on Survival Skills Apparel. We're also sponsored by Liquid Lipo, where you can lose up to 1 pound a day. I also want to thank my makeup artist, Amber Singletary, my photographer, Stephen Tucker, my executive producer, Delmas Luther, and last but not least, Savvy Transportation and Entertainment. So you guys stay tuned, don't go anywhere, because up next we have the beautiful star of season 3, Ready for Love, Miss Wynter Patterson. Up next, after the break, you guys.
Have you been hearing lately that we believe in making a difference in the community? Welcome to Recalling Investments PayUrban.com. Our cooperative membership and sponsorship has joined 500 neighbors to uncap earnings in community and business district improvement solutions. Being home to 500 entrepreneurs under one roof, our co-op and reinvestment into our membership ensures a proactive measure to enrich the benefit of a community reinvestment experience.
So her daughter-in-law just happens to end up in a field of a rich man who happens to be Naomi's next closest relative. And see, Naomi has now relocated. She has reevaluated, so she's in position, church. She's in position. Now, I have to explain this, so y'all got to pay attention now. Now, in those times, if a woman was widowed and she did not have a son, then the tradition was for her to marry the brother or the next closest relative in order to redeem the property and redeem the name of the deceased. Y'all with me? So if a woman was widowed and she did not have a son, then she would either marry his brother or the next closest relative in order to redeem the property. Y'all with me? Amen. Praise God. All right. So now Boaz just happens to be Naomi's next closest relative. God is up to something. And the Bible says that Boaz agrees to marry Ruth and agrees to redeem everything that's connected to Ruth, which means the house, the land, and Naomi, her mother-in-law too. Okay, y'all about to shout in a minute. Now Naomi, who was once bitter, once resentful, once hurt, once distrustful, is now wealthy beyond her imagination. Did somebody come with? Okay. Naomi, because God was up to something, has now stepped into a wealthy place. And what I'm saying is, when you decide to relocate, take a moment to reevaluate. God will resuscitate. Tell somebody, resuscitate. Yeah. Yes, he will. Somebody should be shouting already. Resuscitate means to restore, to revive, or to bring life back to something that was lost or dead.
Thank you. I love you guys. Welcome back to the Chelley Roy Show. I am here with the beautiful star herself, from season 3, Ready to Love, Miss Wynter Patterson. Give it up for Wynter, you guys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I am super excited. I don't want to jump ahead, but there's so many questions going through my mind. I know the audience has questions, so we're going to try to, take our time and just kind of break it down and walk through things if we can, if that's okay.
That sounds wonderful.
So it's an honor to have you here. I was so delighted that you agreed to come on the show because so many people, just like myself, fell in love with you. I personally related to you. I felt like you were a homegirl, around the way girl, somebody that I could relate to, and then we had so many similarities. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you, yes.
So before we get into that, who is Wynter Patterson and what's your story?
You know, my story is complex, but like you said, very relatable. I am a woman who was raised in the church. I got married to, Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome. My marriage ended in about 3 years. But from that, I came out and I really started studying self-love. Yes. I really started studying inner healing. Even though I had been teaching and pastoring, many years, teaching some of the same things, it went to another level after that.
Right.
It's almost like God, said, okay, this is the experience, this is the pain, but out of that, I'm going to birth something beautiful. So that is who I am. I was on Ready to Love season 3, which was an amazing experience. Very stressful, but amazing.
I can imagine. And we're going to talk through some of that, and I can only imagine, because when you allow yourself to be in that space of vulnerability and be transparent, it is a process.
Absolutely.
It is very hard. So we're definitely going to talk through some of those things. But going back to you being a pastor, once I started to do my research, and I said, she's a woman of many hats, not just with the self-love and being a self-love advocate, being, a woman who is, inspired to empower other women, but you're an author.
Yes.
You have so many things. Like, when I think of us as human, we're all multifaceted.
Absolutely.
We have and we play multiple different roles. You know what I mean? So looking at yourself in that clip, do you see the growth in yourself and looking in that clip? And what made you kind of switch gears in terms of the path that you were on when you were a pastor up to now?
Absolutely. No, looking at it, I loved it. I was like, go ahead, girl.
Yes.
Because it takes something to, get in a pulpit and preach to people all over the world. And the Lord afforded me a lot of opportunities, in Africa, Cuba, and many places here in the U.S. And I loved it. I loved empowering people everywhere.
It's necessary.
Yes.
So necessary.
And so, I still, kind of do the same thing, but I felt like I got to a place with God and with my understanding of God that I said, I don't know if I can be in a box anymore.
Yes. Can't box greatness.
Exactly. And you can't box God. And so, God has shown me new, innovative, and creative ways where I can preach and teach and still teach the message of the Bible to people who may never go to church.
I love that.
And so that has been, a very fulfilling thing for me to kind of move away from, the status quo and touch people in very, very creative ways.
And I love that because, like you said, people may not always have that encounter in church. So sometimes you have to be flexible enough to meet people where they are.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely love that. So talk to me a little bit about what the process was for becoming a cast member on Ready to Love. What was that process?
Listen, people always come to me like, how did you do it? Do you have an agent, or what do I need to do? And my story, all I can say is it was meant to happen.
Yes.
Because I didn't have an agent. I had a friend who auditioned for the show. He got chosen for the show, and they said, okay, we're still casting. And he just really, he was like, y'all really should meet my friend Wynter. He was like, she's crazy. He was like, I think you would really like her. And so fast forward, I met with one casting director and then another and another. And my friend who originally recommended me turned down the show once we finally got to casting. Yes. But it was really just, they met me. She said, hey, I like you. I went through about 10 psychological evaluations.
I'm sure. Yeah.
55 interviews, and then, next thing you know.
55, really?
Well, no.
Oh, okay. I was getting ready to say that's a lot. Psychological. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was
say that's
probably,
a lot.
probably more like 5 or 6. But what was really cool was I found out later that we had to be approved by Oprah.
Oh,
like she had to look at all of our background bios and give the signature
Now
for us
that's
to even make it on the
interesting,
show.
because I would think since the show itself, when you were on season 3, it was already approved, but you're saying each cast member for each
cast
season.
member,
That makes sense. It's
she
her
goes
brand.
through and
Yeah.
like, if she don't put her signature on your photo, you're not getting in.
Wow. That means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
You definitely made the cut then.
Yeah.
For sure.
And there were thousands of people.
Oh, I
who
can only
applied.
imagine. That's amazing, isn't that, guys? That's amazing. And speaking about the psychological process, I can only imagine, because you kind of toy with the fact of, this is a great opportunity, what could come of it, the relationships I could possibly build. But then at the same time, do I really want to open my life up and be vulnerable?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And they have to make sure that you can handle whatever comes from what comes on the show. Because thankfully I got mostly positive feedback. I got, a lot of, good things that came from it. But there's still, people reason through their understanding.
Yes.
And you deal with that. You deal with people who make these, very big and these big ideas about you, and you have to be mentally sound to handle that.
Yeah, you have to be prepared to deal with the feedback, whether it's good or bad.
That's right.
That's a good point. Speaking to that, did you guys have maybe a therapist or something on staff to
We
kind of
should
help you
have.
guys, for support? Yeah, because
We should have.
It's a lot, right, that you have to process.
Absolutely. We really should have, because what happens is we film 18 hours a day.
That's a long day.
Right, from the time you walk out of your room until 1:30 in the morning every single night.
Wow.
And we weren't afforded our cell phones or any type of media access. So you can't call mom, you can't call friends. You're kind of in this, hot pot.
That's tough,
Right.
Wynter.
Right.
Wow. Did you guys realize that? I would have never thought that.
Yeah. So 18 hours a day is a normal reality show.
So when did you
work
talk
day.
to your family? When you supposed to be asleep, or?
Well, if you had a situation where you really needed to talk, you could ask for your cell phone, and it would be for a limited time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That in itself would have been an adjustment for me.
Yes, it was. And I remember it was one episode when I was particularly emotional.
Yeah.
And it was actually my nephew's birthday, and I'm like, I can't even talk to my nephew.
Wow.
And so it was, it's tough to be totally separated from the outside world. But
Right.
on the flip side, we really bonded.
And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It forced you to really rely upon your castmates
Absolutely.
and the people you were building relationships with. So I can see, why they were really heavy on that approach. But I was just curious as to whether or not you guys had any type of psychological help, because that's a lot that you have to process.
Yeah, you should probably write that to Nephew Tommy. They might listen to you.
Yeah.
They're not listening to me.
Well, I mean, just thinking through, what my process would be if I was invited to do something like that.
Right.
Like I said, just going through the series of, this is a great opportunity. I would love to do this, but then at the same time, what are the overall impacts and
Right.
the traumas that could come out of this?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So you were a trooper. And for me,
you.
I feel like what really drew me to you, as well as my brother, you were so relatable.
Thank
down
you.
to earth. And even when you were presented with situations of adversity, just the way you handled it. You didn't lose your cool. You were very classy. Like Michelle Obama says, when they go low, you go high.
Yeah.
Like you always took the high road.
Thank
you
you.
were so relatable.
Thank
So
you.
relatable.
Yeah, it was really important to me. I didn't want to get out of character. I didn't want to. I told myself, I told God, I told my mom, I was like, I will never drag a woman on camera. That's
Absolutely
just not me.
Yeah.
So if that means I got to walk off, if that means, I just won't allow myself to let that happen.
Right.
And thank God I wasn't pushed to that limit. That would have been, that was scary for me too.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Doing a process like that, you're definitely going to be tested. And so you did great. You did a wonderful job. So for me, wondering, out of all of the experiences, what do you feel like was one of your greatest experiences through that whole situation?
A good
experience.
I think situations like this where I get to be here with you. I'm so grateful for that.
Thank you.
And I mentioned, I did an interview where I talked about, I felt so gratified by the fact that there were so many people who loved me for me.
Yes.
And it was, I didn't have to get on there and act a fool or be different. The love that I received, just like, yeah, I can be me and this is good. People will love me. And so I really appreciated that.
That's good. Well, real recognizes real. And when you're your authentic self, that shows. And that's what stood out most for me. During the entire time. I think you stayed true to yourself. You weren't willing to sell your soul. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you had a standard.
Yeah.
And so that stood out. And for me, to reach out to you and you actually respond, I was just like, I was thankful for that. You know what I mean? Because as you travel the journey of being successful, sometimes that's not always reciprocated. You know what I mean? So my platform is to inspire, uplift, and motivate entrepreneurs as well as aspiring. So I like to stick to that because although some people have already been established, you have to have been aspiring at some point. Absolutely. So I'm still aspiring and established at the same time. So for me to reach out to you and you reciprocate that meant a lot.
Well, you remember when we first talked, I said, I respect the fact that you had the courage to ask.
Yeah.
Because so many people, they look and, they like or, they support, but they don't have the courage to just ask.
Yeah.
And you did that. And then I looked at your page and I'm like, okay, she's jazzy. Okay. She's cool. I think this could work. I like her vibe. And then the rest was history. We talked and it was just natural, right?
It was very natural. It felt like we had known each other. And like I said, just that energy. I'm big on alignment. I'm big on energy because I feel like energy is magnetic and it radiates. And that's what I pulled from you through the show. And then even when we had the conversation on the phone, it was like, it was natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I definitely appreciate that.
Thank you.
For sure.
Thank you for having me in this beautiful
Thank
audience,
you.
this beautiful studio.
Thank you so much.
I'm impressed.
Thank you. Yeah. Anybody that's watching, they got to step their game up because the Chelley Roy Show is where it's at. We do it spicy here. You got to step your game up. So we're going to take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back.
Have you been hearing lately that we believe in making a difference in the community? Welcome to Recalling Investments. PayUrban.com. Our cooperative membership and sponsorship has joined 500 neighbors to uncap earnings in community and business district improvement solutions. Being home to 500 entrepreneurs under one roof, our co-op and reinvestment into our membership ensures a proactive measure to enrich the benefit of a community reinvestment experience. Backed by a $1 trillion gateway to greater earnings and investments rights in the backyard of your neighborhood. Recalling Investments. PayUrban.com. Adopt a neighborhood. Our investments are designated to grow our community by reinvesting using 40% for startup businesses, 40% in real estate interest, and 20% in small business investments. Be a part of how residents earn an income and reinvest in the community we share. Think about adopting a neighborhood and join a co-op today. Contact Recalling Investments. PayUrban.com at 240-273-4767.
you guys. Welcome back to the Chelley Roy Show. I am here with the beautiful star of Ready to Love season 3, Miss Wynter Patterson. Welcome back, welcome back. So we were talking about some amazing points from the show. Having gone through that experience and being so transparent and vulnerable the way that you were, did you realize that you would have an impact on so many people the way that you did?
I hope so. I didn't know, because you pretty much, you give the editors kind of free reign with your life, you know, for the 13 weeks that we were on. So I didn't know what they would use, but I hoped that they would, you know, use my story, that they would talk about, you know, surviving the infidelity, that they would talk about, you know, I talked a lot about how I don't fear falling in love anymore because I've been through the worst.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I wanted someone to hear that, like, you can bounce back, and if you bounce back once, you can bounce back again.
Yes, there's hope for a lot of people with
Absolutely.
that, for sure. Because there's a lot of fear there, especially after you've been through it one time and you feel like it failed. There's a lot of fear there of bouncing back and feeling like, you know, you have the capacity to do it again.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. So I wanted them to show that. And I also loved and really wanted you guys to see the empowerment and sisterhood that was going on amongst the ladies.
I saw that.
Yeah.
And I love that. You don't see that often. That's why I myself, along with my sister, we're forming a women's empowerment organization as well, because we want to get back to normalizing others and inspiring them to embrace being able to celebrate sisterhood.
Right.
We don't do that anymore. And when you really think about it, we as women have the same struggles.
Yes,
like you
we do.
said, you know, insecurities, you know, gaining weight,
Absolutely.
infidelity. And so instead of taking that and leaning on that and building together, we just don't support each other.
Right.
So that, I think that is so powerful, what you're doing, and I think you have a great platform for it, and so many people are listening and watching, for sure.
Thank you. It's been great. I think it really takes someone like yourself or me who is secure and understands, like, it doesn't take anything away from me to support you or to tag you or share your stuff. Like, it doesn't take anything away from me. It only adds. And I think we have to, you know, be the example of that. And you already have, so inviting me to your platform.
Absolutely. I agree with that so much. I feel like the other thing is that why some women are reluctant to be supportive and embrace is what you just said. Although you and I are similar. You have a podcast, I have a talk show. But most women feel like, oh, I'm not going to support her, because in their minds, they're not secure enough because they want to do the same thing you're doing, or they feel like, oh, I'm not going to support her because then she's going to make it to the top faster than me.
Right.
And it's all about mindset and shaping your mind. So I think that's another thing too, that we have to really work on helping our sisters to better normalize that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
yeah, good. Okay, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back.
Welcome to Wine with Wynter, where we serve inspiration over wine. Today's guest is the lovely
So her daughter-in-law just happens to end up in a field of a rich man who happens to be Naomi's next closest relative. And see, Naomi has now relocated. She has reevaluated, so she's in position, church. She's in position. Now, I have to explain this, so y'all got to pay attention now. Now, in those times, if a woman was widowed and she did not have a son, then the tradition was for her to marry.
Have you been hearing lately that we believe in making a difference in the community? Welcome to Recalling Investments. PayUrban.com. Our cooperative membership and sponsorship has joined 500 neighbors to uncap earnings in community and business district improvement solutions. Being home to 500 entrepreneurs under one roof, our co-op and reinvestment into our membership ensures a proactive measure to enrich the benefit of a community reinvestment experience. Backed by a $1 trillion gateway to greater earnings and investments rights in the backyard of your neighborhood. Recalling Investments. PayUrban.com. Adopt a neighborhood. Our investments are designated to grow our community by reinvesting using 40% for startup businesses, 40% in real estate interest, and 20% in small business investments. Be a part of how residents earn an income and reinvest in the community we share. Think about adopting a neighborhood and join a co-op today. Contact Recalling Investments. PayUrban.com at 240-273-4767.
Welcome to Wine with Wynter, where we serve inspiration over wine. Today's guest is the lovely Joy, my sister wife, from Ready to Love Season 3. Welcome to the show.
Hey, boo.
Hey, girl. We did not plan to dress alike.
Yes,
but,
she did. She copied out.
Well, let's start off. Tell me about your experience on Ready to Love.
Man, you know, overall, I would say it was a positive experience. You know, I decided to do the show because I'm a divorcee. So I was like, you know, we're in a pandemic. This is probably going to be the most.
It's the Chelley Roy Show. It's the Chelley Roy Show. It's the Chelley Roy Show, and it's going down. You can laugh, you can learn. Chelley Roy, it's your turn. You can laugh, you can learn. Chelley Roy, it's your turn. You can laugh, you can learn. Chelley Roy, it's your turn. You can laugh, you can learn. Chelley Roy, it's your turn.
Segment is where I open it up for members of our audience to do a Q&A with Miss Winter. So you guys get ready, and I'm going to turn it over to the beautiful Miss Winter.
Thank you. I'm excited to hear your questions. And this is one time where questions, there's nothing off limits. So you can ask about the show. You can ask pretty much anything. Most things I'll answer.
Okay. My question was, what's next for Miss Winter?
Thank you so much. That's a very good question. I still have my Wine with Winter show, which I've interviewed a lot of my great castmates, but right now we're focusing on some local people who are doing amazing things, some celebrities that come into town. I just recently interviewed Roland Martin, and we talked about the state of Black America, which I'm excited about that. So I'm going to continue to do Wine with Winter. I'm going to continue to teach self-love. I am the self-love advocate, so I teach it in everything I do, everywhere I go. You'll see a lot of that. And just stay tuned. Maybe some things on TV coming up. I can't really, put too much out there, but it may be some things on some networks that you see.
Ms. Winters, when you initially went on the show, in your heart, did you really feel like you were going to find true love?
Very good question. I actually did. Like, I prepared myself for, I wanted to come home with the story, where, me and the guy, we're together and everyone wants to hear about how we met and what it was like. Like, I thought that would be my situation. Like, I would come off and have this wonderful fairy tale about how we met on reality TV. So I really did let my guard down. I really did say, okay, out of these 10, one of them got to work. But unfortunately, it didn't work. But hey, I made some good friends. Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Fine. So my question is, as a woman of the cloth, how did you prepare yourself for the show, like mentally? So how did you really prepare yourself for that?
Well, it wasn't a whole lot of preparation in that I knew I wanted to be myself, whatever that looked like. So I wasn't really concerned with what the church would say or what people might say. I just said, I'm going to be Winter. I'm going to wear what I like to wear. I'm going to, do what I like to do. And I'm going to honor God by loving people. That's how you truly honor God. So I didn't really, put a whole lot of thought into it. I did a lot of shopping to make sure that I had some cute clothes for the show. I did a lot of I actually did prepared mentally by meditating and doing a lot of Deepak Chopra exercises and things like that. But I didn't really care what people thought. Like, as long as my parents were proud of me and as long as I was honoring God with the way that I lived, I didn't care about much of that other stuff. Yeah. I love the fact that men have questions. Yes.
Hello, Winter. Nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you.
I have a two-part question. First, what would you say the gifts and the curses are to being famous now? And what would you say as far as has Winter found true love currently or still seeking?
Yeah. Very good question. Gifts and the curses of being famous. I actually forget that I've been on TV. And it's so crazy that I can go out and, full face of makeup and, a prom dress and nobody will see me. But as soon as I go out and I say, okay, I'm just going to run up here, get some fries and come, baby. As soon as I look crazy, 15 people stop me like, you from that show? Or, hey, Winter. And it's, but it's very flattering. I don't know that I really realized the impact or the reach of the show until, small things like going through airport security here. People like, yes, people, as soon as I come through, like, I know you, or hey, Winter. And my first thought is like, okay, did I go to high school with her? Did I go to school? Like it doesn't first register that they know me from the show. But yeah, it's crazy the amount of people that are so invested in the show and have stories. They can remember things I said. Like, that has been beautiful. So it's not really a whole lot to balance. It just requires me to actually put effort into my appearance every day. Right. So that hasn't been that hard. And what was the second part of the question?
I have not found true love. But y'all, let me just put this out there. I feel like it is so close. Yes. I can't put my finger on why or tell you, something specific. I can't even tell you that I met someone. But, or maybe I did. But no, it's really just, I feel like I've been doing a lot of the work, a lot of the self love work, a lot of, clearing space and really giving God my undivided attention. And so with that, I'm like, I just feel it in my bones like it'll be any minute now. So, yeah. Yeah. And we don't know where he might be. He could be anywhere. He could be in my DMs. He could be here in DC. Yes. It will definitely be a destination wedding. So you good with like Hawaii, Puerto Rico? All right. Great question. Okay, very good question.
So I know you haven't found true love yet. Have you chosen to remain celibate until you do? Or are you practicing celibacy?
I'm actually, it's funny you asked that. People are aware of my story. When I got married, I actually was celibate until my wedding night. And it was great. And I really respected him waiting and the beautiful process of that, even though it didn't turn out well. Because you know my story, But I appreciate that. I appreciate someone who wants to get to know me for me, instead of just trying to jump in bed. So yeah.
Well, Miss Winter, this is back to Mr. James again. You seem to be a people's person, so in being that type of woman, did that make it easier for you to go on these individual dates as the show continued to progress down to the last 4 couples?
I think it does help that I'm like comfortable in my own skin, right? It does help that, and it probably also helps that I am an extrovert. I'm kind of I'm an ambivert, so I do have to recharge,
Right.
Privately a little bit, but I really am a extrovert. So I think it definitely did help. It probably helped with my tolerance, and other people were probably dealing with anxiety, being around that many people. But that probably actually did help a lot.
Which is good. Yeah.
One more.
Yes, bring them on. Don't be afraid. I told you, she's here.
So with being in the public eye, how have you handled the negative energy via social media, and have you experienced any negative energy like in person on the street with someone?
That's a good question.
Never in person. I don't think people are that
But
crazy.
even in your DMs, though? Negative?
Never in person. Now online, we got the, social media gangsters is what I like to call them.
Really?
And I have had some people that have said some things that were, would normally be hurtful. But I feel like God prepared me. And what also helps is the fact that I got 1 negative and 99 positive.
That's it.
And so I try to focus on the love.
The positive.
The person with the negative, that's, delete, block. I blocked probably about 45 people.
In that order.
Right. At least 45 people had to get blocked. And there were times where I'm like, God, that was low. Some people had some, concerns or thoughts about my relationship with Jay and Joy, and, how me and Anthony got together, and, the kind of uncut stuff that they showed at the end, which, is totally contrived. But some people aren't able to separate, like, this is TV.
Right, exactly, for sure.
So I feel like what I do in those cases is I really do absorb the love. Like, I don't just read those positive comments. I absorb it and I say, thank God.
Amen.
Thank you, God, for this kindness, this outpouring of love. And then that negative one, delete, block, you're gone. You'll never get to see my post again.
Exactly.
Under your normal circumstances. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love the questions. Keep them coming.
So would you recommend anyone doing reality show, and would you ever do it again?
No and no. So,
Wow.
no. Okay, I would consider doing a reality show if it were not dating. So maybe like a business show or something.
Gotcha.
I would consider doing that. Reality TV is tough. I was speaking with the makeup artist earlier, Amber, and I was saying that I feel like in order to do long-term reality TV, you kind of have to be a mean girl. You know, you kind of
Yeah.
have to be willing to cut
Well, that's what
people
they want. Yeah.
and argue, right? And, you know, incite stuff. And I'm just not built that way. I'm a person that I like to, you know, be a person of peace, a fountain of peace for everyone around me. And so I'm not built for it at all, you know. So no. And then for someone else, I won't say you shouldn't do it, but I would say make sure that you are prepared to give someone else the driver's seat in creating your narrative.
Wow.
And that's tough, you know. That's tough to let someone create your story for you. And you at home like, I did not say that, or that's not how that situation went. So you just have to be
Wow.
prepared for that.
So a lot of it is edited.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Because they have, you know, and nothing against Will Packer or Oprah or Real Housewives or Love and Hip Hop, Mona Scott, like nothing against them. They're creating TV. But they have to create a storyline that
Wow.
goes, that, you know, makes
That
sense.
piques the interest.
So they have to show what follows the storyline, which may not work in your favor.
That's tough.
Yeah. And so for me, you know, they were kind of building this great love story on one end and kind of making me seem like I was, you know, on the back end.
Right.
When
right.
it really wasn't like that. It was really a very complex situation where all parties were you know,
Right.
involved. So
And you
that
talked a little bit about that during the reunion
I
too,
did. I
because
did.
it did, you know, translate or come across as though it was one-sided.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And so
that's
what they
tough.
did at the reunion was they showed all this back footage of Jay and I hanging out and developing this relationship. Even though I feel like the way that they showed it, I didn't like the way that
Right.
they showed it.
Right.
But they wanted to show that there was more to it later on, after they had created this narrative that, you know, I was the, you know, the girl chasing the guy, which, come on now, y'all know Winter.
Exactly. Yeah, you're too
We don't
beautiful
do
for
that.
that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so you just have to be prepared to give somebody the driver's seat in your narrative.
How did you come up with the idea for the wine?
Wine with Winter. Thank you. So I've had a talk show since 2018. And it initially was called Hidden Pearls because everything I did at that time was pearls. It was, you know, everything was pearl related. The oyster, the pearl, the metaphor, it was everything. And so when we decided to revamp, I said, I want to do something that's a little grown and sexy.
Yes.
Like, I want people to kind of feel like they are coming and having a glass of wine and a good chat and getting some grown folks talk. That's also uplifting.
Yeah, it is.
And
Very
so
much.
I said, you know, let's call it Wine with Winter. Let's do it in a wine bar. Let's have, you know, some very nice wines and have some good conversation. And the rest is history. It's been a beautiful experience.
No, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Thank you.
We all know Nephew Tommy as a comedian. It was good to see him as a host. How were you comfortable with him?
Nephew Tommy is a ray of sunshine. Just very, very good mood all the time. Very uplifting.
That's good.
Very funny. Like, I really just like him as a person.
And that's good.
We didn't see him every day, but when he came around, he was always so endearing and so funny. And yeah, he's a great guy. And y'all, I was his favorite, by the way.
How could you not be? How could you
I'm
not
everybody's
be?
favorite.
Yeah. How could you not be? No, seriously. How could you not be?
Thank you.
I love these questions, guys.
With you all, I remember earlier you were stating that you all were doing like 18 hours a day. That's a lot of time. And it was two questions I was going to ask you. for all that time y'all put into that show, did you all have an opportunity to ever meet Oprah Winfrey? And I want to know how was they fed you all? I mean, how was the feeding and all, and the rooming and all that? 'Cause there was a lot of y'all. There's a lot of y'all on that show.
Get into it. That's it.
Listen, they actually rented out an entire resort
Oh,
for
wow.
us.
Okay.
So we were the only ones in these hotel resorts, and then they had all of production staying there. And because it was COVID, it was a bubble. So
Yes.
once you're in,
You're in.
no out. Okay. And anyone who came had to quarantine for a certain amount of time before they could actually meet with us, and then we were tested every day. So there were very, very strenuous guidelines that went around to make sure everyone stayed safe. So with that being said, I think that probably has a lot to do with why Oprah and Will Packer didn't come, because they would have had to leave their
Yes.
responsibilities, quarantine, and be on this resort. And they billionaires.
Yeah.
Billionaires. They
Exactly.
like, this resort
Yeah.
in North Georgia? No thanks. So we did not, but they know us backwards and forwards, up and down. Like,
That's wonderful.
at any moment, if they were to walk in, they would know, my background and my story, which I think is wonderful. But nope, we haven't met them face to face. Occasionally, Will Packer will like something that I post. I'm like, yes.
Yes. He's watching. You never know. They're
Right.
watching.
Yeah.
Behind you. Two behind you.
Sorry.
Will you be tuning in to season 4 of Ready to Love?
You know what? I'll probably watch 1 or 2 shows to support, because they still did it in Houston, and I know about 5 of the castmates. So I know about at least 5 or 6 people that I want to, just kind of support. But I was sharing with Chelley, before we went on, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go jump in the fire again and go back into that trauma. Because, and it's so crazy. I look at reality TV so different now.
Yep.
Have you ever seen that show, Naked and Afraid? That show? So even that, I was watching Naked and Afraid the other day with my mom, and I'm like, see, pause. That ain't what happened.
You breaking it down,
I'm
dissecting
like,
it.
what happened was a producer walked in and told him to say such and such, and then
wow.
like, you look at it completely differently. While there are a lot of authentic moments on reality TV, there really are. However, there are, it's tampered. It's a little tampered with. So yeah, I don't think I will watch it, because I can't. I'll probably be watching the whole time like this.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
That ain't what he. I bet you they left out the rest of that conversation. That ain't what happened.
For sure. For sure.
Hi, Winter. My name is Andra.
Hi, is it Audra?
Andra.
Andra, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. My pleasure. I had no idea that you were a woman of the cloth. And I was like, but she giving me preacher vibes, because I'm also a minister of the gospel.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to know, when did you get your call? Like, when did you know that God was calling you into the ministry?
Probably in college is when it started. But I was like, Lord, I kind of want to party more, I was like, I want to go ahead and keep partying for a little bit, and then I'll circle back. And,
That's real, though.
That's
real.
True.
Yeah.
Right? And but God was gracious, and and so I got out of college. I went full throttle in ministry, not preaching, but I started doing everything in ministry. I was the singles leader. I was the family life leader. I did major events for a very huge church in Houston. And I wasn't fulfilled. And I never forget, my pastor was like, the reason why you're not fulfilled is because you're not doing enough. Wow. And from there, I went trembling and accepted my call. I preached my first sermon, and it was so natural. It just came very naturally to me. So yeah, it probably started in college, but it was about when I turned about 28. So about 6 years after college. And I was like, all right, Lord, I guess I'll go and, preach a little sermon
down.
or something.
So what we can see from you in the future?
just keep looking out for. I am a person who believes there should be more positive media. So I want to create, talk shows and maybe even a reality show that's positive, that has a very, very positive spin on it. And I'm very invested in helping women to obtain self-love and wealth.
Yes.
Like, how can we move beyond this place of, okay, I have a good job, to actually owning things and making real money, because there's no shortage of money in the world.
Absolutely not.
None. What happens is our mindset is where the shortage is.
That's it.
And so I'm very invested in teaching women about that and empowering. So that I have Love University, which I do. I walk with women for 4 months. I have I'm starting a Patreon group, which I'm going to launch later this month, which is a subscription service. And I want to take some entrepreneurs and give you what I call ascension principles every week. How can we go higher every week? How can I help you level up for real?
Yeah.
And so those are some things I'm working on right now. So just keep following me. If you got Instagram, I'm Wynter Patterson. Facebook, Wynter Patterson with the Y. WynterPatterson.net, loveuniversity.live. I'm very easy to find. Are y'all enjoying this? Yes. I want to just say I am enjoying DC. I'm enjoying the vibe here.
Yes.
Just love you to death. Can't
Same
wait for you to
here.
come to Houston.
I'm coming.
And I'm so serious about that.
I'm so serious.
I got
coming.
some restaurants
Yes.
that you won't even want to come back. You won't even want to come back.
So you answered one of my questions about a reality show. So what would that look like if you did do one?
If I did one, I toyed around. I met with some network executives in LA, and I said I wanted to do something where it was kind of like Bad Girls Club, but we're helping them to become good girls or something. Like they transition from people who may not be, the most well behaved, to women who are self-actualized and are healthy. And so I talked to executives. They were like, "Yeah, we love it. Do it." Because that's kind of the thing in Hollywood now. Now they're like, if you want to do it, and then we'll invest in you, right? Kind of like how you've done.
Yeah.
So that would be what I would do. I'm thinking about how we're going to pilot it, but it would be something where women come in one way and they leave better. Or even business owners. It would be something along those lines, but I want people to leave better. I don't want people fighting and pulling their hair out and jumping in pools and stuff.
I'm telling you, it's a better way. It's definitely a better way.
Right.
So speaking about empowering women, what message what message would you give those women who are reluctant to empowering another woman because of their own self-insecurities?
Absolutely. One thing about self-love, and it's so crazy because self-love has, in the last 5 years, has become kind of like a buzzword, right? And if you follow somebody on social media long enough, you're going to see a post that says something about, I love myself, or, it came because I love myself, and it'd be like, nah, not really.
Exactly.
But one thing about self-love is self-love reflects. Self-love is big on self-reflection. And if you really love yourself, you have to take a look at your insecurities and what's wrong with you. You got to hold the mirror up and look at the ugly side of things.
That's true.
Self-love is just not a cute selfie. It really is reflecting. So for a woman who has a problem with empowering, it's up to her. She needs to look at that mirror and say, what is it that's going on with me? Or where is the root why I can't empower someone else? And start there. Ask those hard questions of themselves, and allow yourself to be vulnerable with a therapist or with someone you trust who can help you to work through that. I always tell a woman, if you meet those women that say, well, I don't fool with women, I don't have no female friends. I said, well, that's you.
Exactly.
It's not them. That's a problem with you. If you can't be friends with a woman, then you are the problem. Because there's different types of women all over the world. So I think it's really, if you really love yourself, you have to self-reflect and take a look at those hard things and be honest with yourself and work on those things.
That was great. Let's clap it up for Miss Wynter. Don't you guys just love her? Now you see why the world fell in love with her and why she was so relatable. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back.
Pandemic, this is probably going to be the most men I meet all year because I'm not out trying to meet people, and so I was apprehensive about it because I'm a very private person, and so I was like, I don't want to be out there like that, and then you got to deal with all the public criticism and all of that on social media, so it took a lot of encouragement. You know, I'm like, okay, let me not go on here and embarrass the Hutton name, you know. My sister didn't want me to be on the show. My parents were apprehensive about it as well. But one of the things about Ready to Love is that it is one of the more tasteful dating shows. And so that is one of the things I like.
They did keep it classy for the most part. I felt like it was very classy.
Yeah, it was. It was very tastefully done.
So do you think we got to see the real you on Ready to Love?
I would say yes, for the most part. People got to see little bits and pieces of who I am. I got to turn up a little bit, you know, when I was dropping bars.
Freestyling?
You know,
Yeah. Now, you stated online that after the reunion, things just didn't work out with you and Jay. Do you care to share any more insight into that?
She likes to answer the hard questions, Chauncey.
Well, the world wants to know.
Get up in my business. You know, the one thing I'll say about that with Jay, there was this narrative being shared that we weren't together because of my grief.
Welcome back to the Chelley Roy Show, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed Winter as much as I have. She has given some great tips, and we have asked some amazing questions. I hope you guys were able to take some good notes and some good pointers. So we're going to wrap up the show with Winter giving one of her self-tip love tips. Turning it over to you, beautiful.
Thank you. You know, I wrote down, I had 5 tips that I wanted to give you. And we went kind of a different direction talking about the other things. And I think we touched on a lot of self-love already. And so I want to talk about something that's kind of unorthodox or people don't think about when we talk about self-love. And that is self-love honors your imagination. Self-love honors your imagination. It is your duty to spend time in your imagination daily. What happens is we use it incorrectly. Our imagination is used to worry. It's used to pre-plan arguments, right? It's, okay, well, when she say this, I'm going to say this. I'm going to remind him. You know, like we are pre-planning arguments that never even happen.
That's
we
so
load
true.
it.
Good
right?
point.
But I read this very good book, and it's called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it talks about the physics of the mind and how when you start to spend at least 10 minutes a day imagining, you actually change the chemistry of your brain, you change your life trajectory, and you improve your life if you use it the right way.
That makes sense.
And so you owe it to yourself to give yourself 10 minutes a day of positive imagination. Like just sit there and daydream like you did when you were a child. That is an act of self-love because it is saying I am investing this time in a beautiful future for myself.
Absolutely.
I'm investing this time in seeing myself where I want to be. And so it is our responsibility. Find 10 minutes. The other day, I dropped my car off to get serviced. And they were going to have somebody drive me somewhere and, do what they do. And I said, no, I think I'll just sit here. And I sat there like this for a minute, thinking about my, new Bentley that I'm going to pick up. And, thinking
Absolutely.
about my...
Manifest it.
Listen, thinking about, my private jet and thinking about, these 500 women that are standing and saying that, wow, you helped me to rebuild my life.
And rotating your shoes.
Yeah, and rotating my shoes. Hello. Yes, I did a live talking about how one day I'm going to have so many shoes that somebody got to come in and rotate them, to keep them fresh. And so you owe it to yourself to do that. Worry is a poor use of your imagination, period. If you don't get anything I say, worry is a poor use of your imagination. Pre-planning arguments, poor use of your imagination. Because most of the time, they ain't even saying what you was prepared to counter with. right?
Absolutely.
And so self-love honors your imagination. I hope if you get nothing from this, that at least you commit to 10 minutes a day, just imagining yourself where you believe God wants you to be, where your biggest dreams, your biggest goals, and watch some things start to change in your life.
I love that. Thank you so much, Wynter. So I hope you guys had a great night. I hope you enjoyed Wynter and all the wonderful tips. So tip of the night to close out the night, spend some time daily sitting with yourself to tap into your imagination. All right, so thank you so much for tuning into the Chelley Roy Show. We love you, and you guys have a great night.